What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this MMA fight slate. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future MMA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DGFantasy for more information. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on DraftKings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA 15 fight slate. I'm not kidding, guys. I cannot wait to break this down, Kevin, but I know that you probably did the most writing you've ever done for a slate, so I apologize in advance. We're going to all be listening to Kevin here, but first, Kevin, let's go ahead and break down this last week's slate.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll try to condense some of that,
yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I mean, we're clearing 3,000 words here, so definitely got to condense some stuff.
Jeez.
But yeah, UFC 258 recap. Pretty damn good night, all things considered, Matt. This was a solid night. I actually had a pretty good night. Some good fortune on the slate. Yeah, that was fun. I came in second in a contest, won about $400, so that was nice.
It's only a $5 entry. How much was that?
It was actually a $40 entry, but it was
small GPPs. There you go.
Small GPP. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I didn't even have. Not only did I not have the optimal, the kid who won, I came in second again. The kid who won like $1,000. He had 5 winners.
Oh, really?
Didn't even have
have 6. Did you have 6?
No, I had 5.
That's crazy.
So, yeah,
shows you the power of a small GPP, Kevin. Something we always preach on Patreon.
100%. We had some good leverage plays too. Just like blew away the field, which is crazy. But yeah, going through those fights, I said the first fight was a great target. I had Gabe Green in my bet in that line. He scored awesome for his price. I said to avoid Ewell and Gutierrez, and I'm happy I did. I said that was going to be pretty low octane as expected. Pollyanna made my love list due to her finish ability, and that was a big leverage play, Matt. She was in my lineup at 7,600. She got a finish. I think it was a first round finish. She was in the optimal, obviously, I'm assuming.
Yes, she was. Yep.
Pollyanna Vienna. Yep. I said Bilal was a great core play to win decision, and he did just that. I mean, did he make
He did
the
not.
optimal?
Nope.
Okay, I didn't think so.
So that was
I said he's going to win and not make the optimal. I wanted to make sure because he was beating he was beating pretty well. So I was like, all right, chill. But like I said, you're going to win. But
yeah, 92.86, even despite the good performance that he had, which is still relatively low for his price tag.
That's exactly where I thought he'd land. He just does that, man. He wins and doesn't do much.
Yeah. We found the ceiling. We found the ceiling performance.
Exactly. And I remember you read his scores back, and I feel like it was like that many in a row. It's so weird. He's so consistent.
Yep.
I may be the only person in the world to give myself credit for this, Matt. I actually didn't have him in my best line, or that one line. But I give myself credit. I might have been the only person who had in the punt list. I don't know if you remember Hernandez.
Oh, of course I do.
Because I thought he could finish Vieira, and it was a good pivot off Vieira. And I had a huge amount of Vieira too. But Matt, we saw Hernandez submit him, and I don't know if you are quite I told my friends, because I was watching with them, and I tried to say the equivalent because they're not big MMA fans. I was like, we just watched a high school player dunk on LeBron. Like, that is what happened. Like,
that's funny.
We watched a blue belt submit maybe the most decorated grappler in the UFC.
That's amazing.
So it was incredible. So yeah, that was insane to see. But yeah, I said Patolo and Marquez should end a finish, and Marquez came back to win with a sub. I said Kelleher was a live punt in the next fight, though Ricky should win a decision.
Patolo won that?
No, Patolo was winning and lost.
Oh, okay. I thought you said he won. And I was like, how did he win and only score 66 points? Okay, got it.
Yeah, no, well, he scored 66 points.
He did for.
That should show you how much he was winning.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Because so he finishes that fight, gets a decision. He's clearing 100. He's making optimal.
Right.
How many did Marquez score?
73, so only 7 more points.
It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. So Patolo should have been the one to make that optimal, but he choked, literally.
No pun.
So yeah, I said Kelleher was live. he didn't win against Ricky, but you know, I said Ricky should win a decision. He did just that. Now that's a good one. How did Ricky score, Matt?
Ricky scored 98.22, which actually made the optimal at $9,100.
Really? Okay, yeah. I mean, I still feel pretty good about that. That's lower than his price point. So, and I did have him as a, you know, green light. It's just, that's interesting to me that that low of a score made the optimal. Especially at 9,100. But just
there was a lot of low scores on this card.
It's starting to make a little more sense why to me and that kid both had 5 winners and did as well as we did.
Right.
Had some Macy Barber. She was my one loss. I would have, you know, obviously crushed that takedown if she won, but didn't happen that way. She lost. You know, looked okay, scored actually okay in a loss, but yeah, it was not what I needed from her. I went all in on Usman in the main, just how we ended up. Sometimes it goes like that, Matt. Like I definitely liked Gilbert Burns, but ended up all Usman. And what did he score?
He scored 103.75, so easily covered that price point. Yep, didn't make the optimal. Yep.
What'd you say?
Yeah, he did make. Yep.
Yeah. I said he is the best chance to make the optimal on the card. It's just, I mean, writing's on the wall, and he did just that. So that was great. And he did about, I told you, Matt, like this is about the worst thing you can do is get like a second or third round finish in like a 5-round fight. Like that is actually the worst scoring you could do. You don't get enough bonus for it, and it's just like you might as well just keep going all 5 rounds and just keep beating cheeks there. But yeah, so yeah, went pretty well. Pretty cut and dry night, and I think we crushed it, Matt.
Yeah, I know you did. So that means we all did, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Usually I'm not the one, you know, winning big, so I like to see you guys win big more than I do. But this upcoming card is interesting. Now we just talked about 15 fights. There's going to be some huge leverage on this card and a shot to win big money because of that. I will say this is also the most punts I've ever had on a love list, Matt. Easily, like it's crazy.
It's gonna be one of those types of cards, and
yep, I see a lot of, you know, stud and dud potential here. So yeah, let's get into it. This is interesting. So yeah, love starting off the slate with a heavyweight banger like this. Sergey Spivak versus Jared Vanderaa. Sergey's a great finisher and can do it a multitude of ways. I think he's a strong pay-up option here to begin the slate. He's 2-2 in the UFC. Both of his losses are to good competitors like Tybura and Walt Harris. So there's that. Jared is a good finisher as well. Makes his UFC debut after an impressive performance on the Contender Series. I think he's a live punt. Just having strong finishability himself at heavyweight, and Sergey, like I said, isn't a world beater. He's good. 2-2 is fine, but it's not a world beater. I think both sides are very green, Matt, and I'll throw Sergey in my love list for GPP, and I'll throw Jared in my punt to start off that big punt list.
All right, Kevin. I'm going to jump right into this. The benchmark is at 25.4% ownership. The ownership is so spread out amongst
24.5,
25.4. You get the two, backwards.
15 fight slate.
Yeah, 15 fight slate, Kevin. But the ownership, the two highest owned guys are literally dominating in terms of ownership. Like there's no one even coming close to these two. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm not going to ruin it for you because I want to keep the suspense going. But yeah,
I know one, but the other one is like.
And there's also another huge thing I want to point out when we get to the main event in terms of ownership. I've never seen this before, so I cannot wait to get to that main event. But let's go ahead and start from the very top. Just want to let you know that the benchmark's at 25.4% ownership. That being said, Spivak does make it into cash viable. Kevin, 25.6% ownership, so just in that cusp range, and Vanderaa at 16.1% ownership, so very, very low ownership there. I think there's plenty of leverage potential, but Spivak, cash viable, yes?
Yeah, I think it's cash viable. I think it's GPP viable, cash viable.
Yeah,
sure.
Awesome. Do I greenlight these guys?
Yep, both are making my love list.
Got it. All right, moving on.
We got Ayman Zahabi versus Draco Rodriguez. I'm gonna mark Draco green as the favorite here, though you won't make my love list. Especially he's making his UFC debut, a little scary, and at a less than cheap price tag. I hate that. You know, I don't like paying up for people making their debut, but
yeah,
he's had a successful career at 7-1. Outside the UFC. His only loss is to fellow UFC fighter Tony Gravely back in his King of the Cage days, so that's good to see. Draco has also had an impressive amateur career. He went 10-0 with 8 finishes. You know, I like to look at that stuff, Matt, amateur careers and stuff. I know it's not as important, but, you know, if someone has, you know, a 5-0 pro record, but was 5-5 in their, you know, amateur, you know, career, it's like, well, it's a little bit of a facade. So we do want to pay attention to stuff like that. But I do think Draco's a good winner. Zahabi has UFC experience. That's an advantage for him. But he is an underdog for a reason. He's 1-2 in the organization. I think you can mark him green as well, and I see potential for this fight as a whole. It's just a lot of competing fights, Matt, on the slate, and for one to make my love list, it has to really stand out. So this one doesn't really quote unquote stand out, but both are green.
Okay, well, both these guys are actually very low owned. We have Rodriguez at 17.4%, and is it Zahabi?
Yep.
Zahabi, got it. 6.6% ownership. So very, very low ownership on a guy that's a plus 151 to win. Kevin, do you like the ownership on these two guys?
Yes, I do.
And
makes sense to me.
Awesome. So let's mark those two up as good leverage spots, and moving on to the 13th.
Yep, 100%. Very interesting fight here. We got Chaz Skelly versus Jamal Emmers. I am thoroughly confused at this line, Matt. Very confused.
Okay.
You're still looking at a minus 240 for Emmers, right?
-2, yeah, 239. So yes.
Interesting. So Emmers is a good fighter, but he's 1-1 in the UFC. Even lost his Contender Series fight back in 2018 to get to the UFC, and he's been good outside of the UFC. And his one loss in there is to Giga Chikadze, and it was a split decision. But I'm still really surprised at this line and pricing. I'm going to mark Emmers green. He's a good pivot off of Skelly if you want to take Skelly as a punt, but I will say that because Skelly is making my punt list for sure, Matt. Skelly's good, man. He's good. He's got a good wrestler, good submission ability, and that can ruin anyone's day. But more importantly, he's successful at the highest level. I mean, he's literally this guy we're seeing. Again, one guy's 1-1 in the UFC, which again, that doesn't mean everything, but Skelly is 7-3-1 in the UFC, which is pretty damn good with 5 finishes of those 7 wins. So he was also 11-0 before he entered, the organization. So I'm confused why he's not getting a little more respect here. He's a very good fighter. So what does the ownership look like? Does the public agree?
Yeah, no, they don't, Kevin. So it looks like you are in a disagreement with the public as well, which makes this a great leverage spot. I'm going to mark this as Kevin's favorite leverage spot right off the rip here, just because he is 12.5% owned. Skelly, that is very, very low, Kevin. Emmers at 25.4% ownership, which is the benchmark, actually. So he does make it right into that cash range. And I'm assuming you don't agree with that, right?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you, I know one of our Patreon members, Joey likes MMA and stuff like that, and he sent me something about plays he liked this week. And before obviously this video dropped, we talked about anything, I saw he was like saying the same thing. He was like, that's fallen, that doesn't make sense. So I agree. I think it does not make sense.
And if you're a betting man watching this video, you guys already know what line Kevin is loving to attack this weekend.
100%.
Yep. All right.
Big potential there. Moving on, we got Shayna Dobson versus Casey O'Neill. Kind of a nightmare fight here for me. I really don't know what to say. O'Neill has been great outside the UFC and makes her debut at 5-0. Though she weirdly, again, amateur fights, she lost a bunch, and she lost by knockout. So I don't know what to think here. She did win her next 5 fights, and then obviously her next 5 as a professional, being 5-0. But no notable wins here. All we have is eye test from her. Some of her fights so far have been okay, but it's really hard to tell her skill level from what I've seen. I hate fights like this. Dobson has knockout power, but she's also been low-key trash. So it's I might mark this as red, Matt.
Okay.
I think I should. It's a plus 170 finish chance. We have to start making some choices here. I might mark it as red and just hope it doesn't make the optimal. It's just a nightmare fight. I'm not saying one of them can't make the optimal, but trying to figure out how this fight's going to go in any direction is just a nightmare.
All right. Well, it seems like the public does agree with you, Kevin. 20.6% ownership on O'Neill and 12.8% on Dobson. So the public is looking to avoid this fight as well. So it looks like a mutual agreement between you and the casuals.
I guess I'm a casual.
Yeah, I guess you are. Whatever. Ever since that McGregor exposure that I heard from you, I'm like, hey, this guy's just a casual. He doesn't know anything about UFC. So
100%. I have at least a year of getting called a casual for that.
Yeah,
that's fair.
All right, moving on.
Moving on, we got Rafael Alves versus Patrick Sabatini. Good fight to target here. I like Sabatini. He's one of those guys, I know from the wrestling days. He's wrestled, I think it was Rider University, D1 kid. He's pretty good. Good submission ability. Rafael Alves is a glass cannon, which sets up, big potential. And he has been finished literally in all 9 of his losses, which is I just rub my hands together when I see something like that.
Right.
That's just obvious. It also helps that both fighters are making their UFC debut. So lots of volatility here. Alves is a killer, though. I mean, granted, I did say he's a glass cannon. I didn't just say he's glass. He has 14 finishes as well. So might be a good idea to target a ton of this fight and end up So you end up on the right side either way, because I do see big potential here.
Awesome. So you'll love to hear the ownership. So what's the finish percentage on this, or finish?
Minus 140. I think it should be a little higher.
Well,
I'm looking at like a minus 180 to 200 in my head.
If that's the case, you'll love this even more. 9.2% on Alves, and on Sabatini, whatever. 5.4% ownership, Kevin. So combined wise, this is the lowest out of all the fights on the card. Leverage.
I don't get it. I don't get it. This is like one of those ones, like, it was something like, what fight was it? Saturday, you said something like some crap like that. It was like,
I forget which one it was. There,
it was the Polyana Vienna, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take a crap ton of her, and then she got the first round finish. I'm like, I don't know what these people are saying sometimes. I always think like, what do they know that I don't? I'm like, and then we do really well. I'm like, oh, nothing. They know nothing.
They know nothing. We're just better. We're just the better players. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, but that's so stupid. I don't get it. Get it. I'm not saying target this fight 100%, but like, my goodness, man.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so great fight, great leverage there. Obviously, huge leverage. Unbelievable. But yeah, moving on. Nate Landwehr versus Julian Rosa. Another awesome fight here, and has so much make or break potential. This is actually, I think, the first time that, I'm probably wrong here, but this is the first time I remember seeing two fighters at the same price tag.
No, that's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah, that's so weird. 8.1K. That's bizarre. But Landwehr has some hands. We really saw him push the pace against Darren Elkins. That was a really fun fight. So get another repeat of that. Rosa is a ridiculously good finisher with both submission and knockout potential. So this does have somewhat of, a big chance for a finish. I think Rosa does have a suspect chin. He is, a real glass cannon. So, but there's obvious potential here for both sides. I mean, Nate Landwehr has hands. He could absolutely put Rosa out. Rosa is deadly everywhere, and it's going to be a big problem for Nate. So I think this has a really good shot to make optimal at that pricing and make or break potential. This
is the definition of a make or break fight, Kevin, because you look at the ownerships and they reflect just that. $8,100 for both these guys. Landwehr is at 23.6% ownership, and then Rosa's at 20%. So I guess you technically could say Rosa's going to be lower owned, but again, these are just projections. We don't actually know what it's going to look like. I'm assuming both these guys are going to be dead split, and they're both in that GPP category.
It's funny when you have an 82 and 8K, you get a little bit more of a stance, because people always go for the pay down option in a close fight like that. But we got a hung jury when it's 81-81, huh? That's interesting.
And the line is like pretty evenly split as well. So it's literally definition of a make or break.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Moving on, we got Eddie Wineland versus John Castaneda. Castaneda's nickname, Matt, is the Sexy Mexi.
Okay.
So let's just hope he gets knocked out.
I guess you can have those nicknames in UFC.
Yes. I guess when you're that much of a savage, you can have but still, that hurts. But he's a decent fighter. Pretty solid career. Been a little bit of a slump lately. He's lost 3 of his last 4, but he's pretty successful for that. Including his last fight was his UFC debut, and he did lose that. So it's hard to see where he's at. Has power and finishability, and we know Wineland can be finished for sure. He's been finished a crap ton in his career, very, very long career. It's tough, man. This is one of the tougher ones, not as obvious. I'm going to say Castaneda's green. I'll put him live. And actually, let's put Castaneda yellow. Let's put him yellow.
Okay. And Wineland?
Wineland is... I'll say green, because he has a better chance of that price tag make the optimal, and I know what Wineland can do.
Okay.
Wineland's had such a long career. I know he's older now. I know he just got starched by Sugar Sean, but I just have a little more faith in Wineland.
Yeah, it's not saying much either, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
So, no, I'm kidding. So Wineland, 9% ownership, Kevin. This is actually the second lowest in terms of overall ownership. So the ownership's throwing me off just with all this low ownership across the board. Castaneda, 5.7% ownership as well. So this is combined about 15% combined 15% ownership on both of these guys. So after hearing that, do you like the leverage potential here?
Yeah, I do. And that's why it's like, I had a feeling it'd be like that. And that's why we got to put it a little bit like more live than I'd probably like to.
Yeah.
Another one, don't quite know how it's going to go. Someone's like, tells me this fight's going to end in a boring decision. I'd be like, I believe it. If they're like, this is going to end up somehow high octane, I'd be like, I believe it. Someone's like, this is going to end in a finish. I'd be like, I believe it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
this one has potential to do anything.
I think in general, the last 3 fights, they are all in that mid-range category. These are going to be all great fights to target in terms of make or break you for your lineup construction. All these guys are within that 7.9K to 8.3K range, which is absolutely insane. And looking at the ownership is just very, very low on all 3 of these fights.
Yes, and I think this is probably my least favorite of the three we just talked
Okay.
about, but it's still a good fight. I mean, just because I really like the Landwehr Rosa fight and Alves
Right.
Sabatini, but I still really like this fight.
Yeah, all these low ownerships are throwing me off. I'm not used to seeing this low of ownership.
No, I mean I get it's a 15 fight slate, but my goodness,
Yeah,
some
below
some people are
10%.
just hogging it.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on, we got Jakar Close versus Luis Pena. I like Jakar as a favorite. I can't believe Luis Pena. He's not going to make my punt list. You can still put him as yellow, but he's been so damn underwhelming lately. I think he does have a good chance to win. He has reach, really good reach. He comes out of a good camp at AKA. It's just really disappointing lately. I just think, he should have been better at this point in his career, but you do got to respect the range of him. I don't expect to finish, and neither does Vegas. It's a plus 165 here. If the leverage and ownership is right, Matt, you can, I guess you can yellow this for both sides. What
Yeah.
are we looking at here?
Well, this is where people are going to be putting their cheap money at. $7,200 for Luis Pena, 25.1% ownership. So that's actually very, very high compared to Close. 13.6% ownership. So literally half the percentage of the huge underdog in Luis Pena. So after hearing that, what are your thoughts?
Do you know why?
I don't know why.
I'm not kidding, Matt. The reason that Luis Pena is carrying that much ownership, if you
Okay.
want to know how much more the sport draws casuals than other sports,
Uh-huh.
it's because his nickname is Violent Bob Ross, and he kind of looks like Bob Ross, and that's it. I promise you that is why. I promise. He's an okay fighter. He's also lost some, Matt Frivola, the guy who was like the whatever underdog the other day, he lost to him. He lost to some random guy, Michael Trezano, in his UFC, I think, debut. Just got choked out by Conor Worthy. He's okay. He's not great. And I think that's literally, I got into my head. That's why. It's because he has a cool nickname and he's a recognizable face because of it. Like, oh, Violent Bob Ross. Yeah. Like,
Can we
I don't know.
can we move on?
Yeah, it just makes me sad.
What is
promise,
going on?
like, I feel so good about the fact that's why.
That's probably the reason, and I'm sorry that we had to break down that fight like that, guys. Let's move on to the seventh fight.
He's and that doesn't mean fade him. He's still yellow. He's okay.
Sure, yeah. He's $7,200, and he should. I mean, he's plus 166. I guess that's all I see right now. I don't see the nickname
numbers.
Yeah.
I like it. Moving on, we got Jared Gordon versus Danny Chavez. Another fight. Don't want to talk about too much here. It's yellow for me, though. I am a little curious to hear ownership, but either way, I'm looking at Chavez as the favorite at 8,400, and it's like, if he wins this fight, he's a pretty terrible finisher. I mean, Gordon is a 50-50 finisher as well, so even in a win, there's no guarantee. He ends the fight at 7,800. The only reason I'm considering either of these guys, Matt, is their pricing. But yellow, unless you can change my mind with ownership.
Okay, these two just don't score well. That's the reason you're yellow lighting it. Is that okay?
Really don't.
Yeah, these guys are both in that GPP range. For Chavez, it's 24.6% ownership, and then Gordon's sitting at 17.2. So they're on that cusp, but it looks like another make or break, and that's even a little bit of a stretch, just because we don't expect this to go to a decision, or we do expect it to go to a decision.
I mean, I really hope it doesn't outscore one of those ones that we talked about: the Landwehr fight, the Wineland fight, the Alves fight. It could. You never know. But
the ownership's a little high on it, then, in your opinion, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, Danny Chavez as the favorite is a really bad score.
Right.
So, I have a little more faith in Gordon making the optimal than just being cheaper, and I know he's a better finisher, but yeah, Chavez is not selling me.
All right, moving on.
Moving on to a fight that absolutely does sell me, Matt. Andre Arlovski versus Tom Aspinall. Oh my goodness, what a fight. Definitely more intrigued in this one. I like Tom Aspinall. He seemed like he could be the next big thing in heavyweight, or seems, I shouldn't say seemed, Tim, he still does. If he keeps going this way, he absolutely could be. He has first round knockouts in both of his 2 UFC fights and has looked amazing. Arlovski will be a good Arlovski has become like a stepping stone, or what do they call it? Like a gatekeeper now, which I hate to say that, but essentially he's 42 years old, Matt. He has like 30 something UFC fights or something crazy. So he's going to be a good test for Aspinall. Yeah, he might be.
Okay. Makes sense.
But hey, I'm not sure he's not mine either. See the beard.
Yeah.
He's gonna offer a good test for him right off the rip. I mean, even at 42 years old, Matt, Arlovski has won 3 of his last 4. So he's still a problem in the UFC at the heavyweight division. He's lost a little knockout power over the years for sure, but at 7K, I mean, he's still worth his price point. And you never know. You never know with him. Huge UFC experience, and it's going to be a test for Aspinall. It's definitely someone he has to get past to prove he's on that next tier. It doesn't mean he's super elite yet, but to prove that he's pretty damn good, he's going to have to get through a vet like Arlovsky.
All right, Aspinall, 37.2% owned, which is the third highest on the card. Kevin, I think that makes sense after hearing what you just said. Arlovsky at 11.2%. So do you see any leverage potential? That's very low.
I do. He's on my punt list
Cool.
for sure. I love Arlovsky, but it makes perfect sense. Aspinall hits like a friggin' Mack truck. Arlovsky's been knocked out a million times in his career. It makes a lot of sense.
All right, I green lighted both of them. Let's move on.
Beautiful. Another awesome fight here. Definitely one of my favorites on the card.
Cool.
Hawes versus Imavov. Hawes is 9-2. Is a freight train with all of his wins and losses coming by way of finish, which is just, again,
that is pretty cool.
Hands together on here. That love that. Imavov is also 9-2 with mostly finishes as well. I see this as a huge make or break fight potential here with that pricing, with the third highest finish chance of the 15 fights. Really hard to pick a side here, and I don't know how someone could confidently. Both guys have the same
I'm going to give you a good side to pick then after hearing ownership.
Okay, I like that. But they both have the same record. Both are 1-0 in the UFC. Both same price. Hawes is a little more, I'd say, gets it done with his hands, but I may have a little more grab. But it's still pretty, I don't know. It's pretty dead even. So I say hedge your bets here, Matt. You know what? I'm going to take a stance here, even in a 15-fight slate. I'm going to say take near 100% of this, split the middle on ownership, and sit back and watch. Little bold on a 15-fight slate, but you need to limit your player pool somewhere. So, well,
that will create huge leverage potential here, Kevin, because the ownership is actually very confusing. Is Hawes a fan favorite? Not really.
He looks the part. He's jacked up and he hits like a truck, and I feel like sometimes people, but that's about it.
He's a fourth highest on the slate, 37% ownership, and Imavov
yep.
and Mavov was missing the long A. Okay, 15.8%. Kevin, what? Are you kidding me?
We're looking at a -125 to -105 line here, right?
Yes. I don't understand. Why is it so low?
I don't know. He's marked. What has he had, a 49.6% chance to win or something?
Yeah, it's literally 50. No, yeah, it's 50. I'm trying to do the math. 51.5 for Hawes. So yeah, what? So it's a dead split decision. I'm assuming because people can't pronounce the name like me and Mavov. Is that the only reason? 15.8%. Okay. Way they make fun of me. 15.8%. That is insane. So I think that's all the leverage potential in the world, Kevin.
I don't understand that. That doesn't really make. Yeah, that's. I mean, good.
Doesn't
more
mean leverage for me.
Hawes by any means.
No, no, that's not what we're saying.
This. Well, again, I still think the plan stays the same, but you're starting to root for a little more for
yeah,
for sure.
I think if Hawes loses, everybody's going to shut off their TVs after that fight. If everybody's playing DFS, just because that's going to ruin everybody's night. It looks like everybody's on Hawes. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yep. Whatever.
All right, moving on. Another good fight. Now we got 3 bangers back to back to back, and that's why, again, I didn't take as many hard stances earlier. Alexei Oleinik versus Chris Daukaus. This line actually shifted a lot, Matt. This is one we talked about.
All right, I'm out.
What
ownership? Yep. Just go ahead.
It's either. I'm excited. So this was a -160 favorite for Chris Daukaus. Now he's at -200.
Okay. So that explains it then.
For him,
that explains it.
That explains a lot of it. Okay.
Yeah, it still doesn't, but it does more.
I'll tell you this. I mean, pretty simple question that is hard to answer. Will Chris knock out Alexei before Alexei takes him down and chokes him out? That's it. That's the question. I don't know the answer. No one knows the answer, but I am putting 100% ownership into this fight, Matt, to find out. Great pricing. -500 finish chance. It makes perfect sense. Any fight Alexei's in like this, I mean, this is what happens. He is the most dangerous guy. Like, you cannot last 15 minutes with him on the ground. You can't. I don't care who you are. You can't. So it's like, he's going to choke you out, or you're going to start him before then. So it's like, it's awesome every time we see him. Love the style of this, love the pricing, love the heavyweight fight. I'm probably, to be honest, due to pricing, and I'm almost sure this is going to stay what I'm saying by the way you're alluding to Chris Daukaus' ownership. I was going to say 60% Alexei, 40% Chris due to pricing.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's the leverage. Daukaus, the second highest on the slate on a 15-fight slate. Keep that in mind, everybody, after you hear this. 50.8%. So there's the ownership. It's on Daukaus, and it is substantial. Oleinik, 16.4% ownership.
Yeah, jeez and crepes, man.
Yeah. If there's an upset in either of the two last fights, it's going to absolutely break the slate in half. So, at least according to the ownership right now, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand.
You will after you win $1,000, Kevin. You'll be like, I'm just better than everybody else, I guess.
I don't
this weekend.
like this man has. I don't know. I don't know if you know about Olynyk.
I don't. I know about Kelly Olynyk from basketball. That's it. That's all I know.
Yeah, Kelly Olynyk, they're brothers.
Yeah.
It's just spelled different.
Yeah.
He has 60 UFC wins or MMA wins, 60.
Okay.
And about 55 of them, I think, have ended in finish. Okay.
Yeah.
And 46 of those have been subs. He subs everyone. I'm gonna look real quick, see how many UFC. He has like 7 UFC subs in his like whatever 10, 11 UFC fight. He is terrifying. He took Derek Lewis down, almost choked him out. The guy we love and talk about. He beat Fabricio Werdum in a split. I mean, he subbed Travis Brown. He subbed Mark Hunt. Dude.
He still has a 40% chance to win this thing too, according to Vegas.
Yeah.
Even after the line movements, which is insane. So you're talking about a
chance to win. People are putting 51% stock to 17 into someone else. Like that's crazy.
Yep, and GPP's too.
Because like I really do like Chris, and this is one I think again like the Hawes fight. I think he's still got to target 100% and almost split the difference. But I will say I feel better about my 60% Alexi here, just because like he really does. Like again, he takes Chris down. That's it. Like, I don't see a world where, I mean, Dawkins maybe could get out. He's never going to submit Alexi, and he's just going to be sitting there drowning the whole time.
If Alexi wins, you're going to take down the GPP, is what you're saying. That's pretty cool to say. You have a 40% chance to take down the GPP tonight. That's the way you kind of have to look at that. By the way, you approach these GPP percentages, because if he wins, he's going to appear in the optimal, right? Like you have to bank 100%. On that.
I think both guys have such a good chance, and that's why it's carrying that much ownership at that price tag, man. I mean, talk about glass cannons. Alexi Olynyk has, again, 74 fights ever. Okay. 9 of those, win or loss, have gone to a decision.
Wow.
So that's kind of where we're looking. You know, that's it should end in a fight or in a finish.
All right. You have me convinced. $7,600 too to add one more time.
Yep,
crazy.
$600 for 17%. Crazy.
Yep.
Moving on, we got another. I told you, Matt, we're in great streak here, man. We got
this is another good one.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Again,
Aspinall right into
I'll be back.
Now you see why I got so many damn good punts.
Yeah.
You know, we got Aspinall right into the Hawes fight, right into the Olynyk fight, right into this one. Charles Rosa versus Derek Minner. I actually just found out that Rosa's a Massachusetts native, so that's pretty cool. Didn't know he's a fellow Bostonian. But
so he's trash. Voiding.
Yeah, so he's trash. So I'm gonna fade him. This fight has a near -200 finish chance too, Matt, which I could get behind if they weren't fighting each other. I actually don't think this one should live up to that -200, but I mean, I still think it should end in a finish, but I think that's a little bold. But they're both super good finishers, but they're both good grapplers. I think Rosa's a little more polished in grappling, where, you know, Minner is just like, I'm going to either choke you or you're going to choke. So he's going to go hammer, which I like. He's more of a glass cannon. Rosa's finished some really good guys too, like Manny Bermudez, who's a elite grappler, and I think he could finish Minner. That being said, it's also interesting. Minner has 22 wins by way of submission, Matt. 22 wins by way of submission. So it's like, it's interesting, but like I said, he is a glass cannon, been submitted 8 times himself. So where Rosa's never been submitted. So that's something to think about. You know, this is tough. This is one of those ones that's very tough, very, very tough to see if these guys are going to keep it standing, where Rosa probably has an advantage, or they're going to go to the ground where Minner could get anybody, but Rosa's probably a little more polished. What's the ownership, Matt? Give me
it's too low. I'm assuming this is a green light fight, right? Regardless of the ownership. Okay. Rosa is at 22.1% ownership and Minner's at 15.2.
So yeah, those are really low ownerships, Matt. I mean, I hate to just keep preaching this. I feel like we're broken record here, but it's just another fight with a lot of leverage with good finish potential. So I'm just really surprised at some of the ownership in this. It seems like some people are just hogging all of it.
It's 2 people, literally. You heard one in Dawkins, and I can assume you're into the next one in the main event, but it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Is the second to last fight more exciting than the previous 3, or no?
The co-main?
Yeah, co-main.
No, absolutely not.
All right, okay.
No, I love
that explains the ownership.
Yeah, absolutely not. This is one that, like, this actually has pretty sure, and I am confirming that, yep, it has the least finish chance on the card.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And it's kind of like tough too, because you got Ketlin Vieira, who's like tough, good fighter. I've never put, too much stock though into expecting a heavy favorited female fighter when man, history tells us that, there's far more upsets of heavy favorites in the female division than there is in the men's. That said, I do think Ketlin should win. But again, she's a good winner and she's very well rounded, but I don't think she should finish. She's a miserable scorer also. So it's really just, I would probably mark her red, Matt. I think you got it, 9,300. I wrote yellow in this, but I'm going to put red. I'm going to change that. I'm going to mark her as red.
Okay.
And then Yana, I'm actually going to mark it as green. She's
You are? Okay.
Yep, I'm going to mark her as green just because she's 6,900. Like I said, these upsets do happen, and I think she has a real shot of winning that. You wouldn't guess this by the Vegas odds here at minus 280 and plus 220, but this is the 6th ranked bantamweight in Vieira versus the 7th ranked bantamweight in Yana.
Interesting.
You wouldn't think that.
No.
But Yana's pretty good. She's actually, fun fact, she's engaged to Thiago Santos, the guy who.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't get on.
I don't want to mess with.
Or he will
I was about to say I don't want to mess with that couple at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's cute, but I'm scared to. But yeah. So I didn't say that on the record.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think she's more alive. What's the ownership here?
It is 21.4% on Yana, and Vieira it is 18.9%. So it seems like they agree with you. This is where people are putting their, I guess, quote unquote, cheap money.
I just wish that Ketlin had more, because I really just don't see her making optimal. I really don't see that happening. So it would have been really nice to.
Well, 18.9 isn't that low, at least when we compare it to the rest of the slate. So
I just want some guaranteed leverage. But
sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's move past that one.
We're ready for the
Derek Lewis
atomic bomb of ownership here.
I think I obviously know it's Curtis Blades, but people are such Derek Lewis fans. I wouldn't even be surprised if you told me it was him carrying all that ownership.
It's not, and it's actually, I'm surprised you said that, because the ownership does not reflect that at all. This is why I'm not even focused on the high ownership in Blades. It's the low ownership on Derek Lewis. So
wow.
Yep. So
I'm very curious to hear this, because I hate Derek Lewis.
Did I just break your brain before you got into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's hear your synopsis here. Yeah.
Oh, you want to? Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say about it before I give you the ownership.
Beautiful. I love it. So I'm going to use basically the same breakdown I did for this fight in November when it was supposed to happen. Not much has changed.
Okay.
This main event caps off a great, main card worth of targets. I mean, I think, we have a lot of, like I said, this Alexi fight also, this keeps it going. I've said it before, Blades has beaten everyone not named Francis Ngannou, who, I'm going to say this real quick, just a little interjection. I just saw Francis Ngannou is the favorite right now against Stipe for that fight when it's happening in a couple months. The disrespect, bro. The disrespect on Stipe's name. Like, I am just the best heavyweight in the world, and the best heavyweight who's ever fought in the UFC technically is getting treated as the underdog against a guy he's already beat.
Interesting.
Sorry, I just had to get that out. Just very sad about that. Disrespect, bro. But yeah. Blades has beaten everyone not named Francis Ngannou, who makes his only 2 losses. Other than that, he's been lights out. Great takedowns. He considers himself, quote unquote, he's self-proclaimed best wrestler in the heavyweight division. With DC gone, I guess he can say that. But good takedowns, good power, good ground and pound. Derek Lewis, on the other hand, great athlete. Doesn't look like it, but an amazing athlete. He's lost some weight. He's actually getting in better shape every time we see him. He used to just be like a heavy hitting boxer guy, who just he literally was in prison and he fights like it. He just used to just starch dudes and just put them out, and then kind of mope around and just had heavy hands. But now he's becoming a pretty well-versed good fighter, and his takedown defense has gotten a lot better. I still don't think it's enough to avoid the chain wrestling of Blades. We talk about this, if you're not born into that wrestling life, you can develop good wrestling, but to stop the 4 chains of Blades takedowns, shoots a high C, starts to run the pipe, steps back in for a double, all that crap, that's tough to emulate if you haven't done it for a long time. And I think for that reason, Blades will get him down. He also has a much better gas tank, where Derek Lewis, even though he's been working on it and getting in better shape, has a sus gas tank for sure. And that doesn't bode well for a 5-round fight. We've seen him struggle with that. We've seen him get, DC ran right through him like a hot knife through butter, had no problem. And DC definitely is the most comparable fight style I've seen to Curtis Blades. That being said, though, as we're saying, you're saying he's carrying not a lot of ownership. He is still an amazing punt at 6,800. He could blow up the slate, and he hits like a friggin' Mack truck. And we've seen Curtis Blades can get rocked, and Derek Lewis can knock out a friggin' horse, Matt. Like, so I don't know. There's still big potential there.
Yeah, Curtis Blades, 54.2% ownership, Kevin. That is the highest on the slate in a 14-fight slate. That's still very, very high. I think it's a little too inflated for my liking. Because Derek Lewis here at $6,800, still Vegas is giving him a 20% chance to win, which is still respectable. 9.4% ownership, Kevin. What is that? That is not.
I can't believe that. He's such a heavy favorite. Are people that big of Curtis Blades favorites, or do they just think he can do that well? I mean,
hey, you're the UFC guy. You're supposed to be telling me. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just looking at the ownership and Vegas odds, and it doesn't look like it's making any sense. Either whoever's making these ownership projections are drunk, or the public is actually drunk. So
I don't understand that at all.
Hey, I hope it stays true, because guess what? I'm going to be overexposed to Derek Lewis.
Yeah, I want to see.
I'm going to match his win percentage at least 20%, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, if our ownership.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, at least
I say you target 100% of this fight and just go it's just the Curtis Blades scoring potential, Matt. And this is what I was trying to find.
And I don't want anybody watching us thinking like we hate Curtis Blade. I just don't like that ownership. Like, if he loses, imagine like how you will look if you took more exposure to Derek Lewis at 9.4% ownership. You're already cashing in GPPs because you're beating 90%, literally 90% of the public. So that's all we're saying.
Yeah. So I'm looking at a fight like this, Matt, and this is what I wanted to find. So in fights that Curtis Blades doesn't finish, I was trying to find, like, I know he didn't finish Volkov when they fought in June. So I was looking just as ESPN stats, and this is why, especially with the new scoring system where, strikes are worth something, not just significant strikes. Against Volkov, Matt, he had 116 strikes. It's all right. It'll get you some points. 69 were significant strikes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also get you some points. Now talk about control time. Okay. Takedowns give you control time, all that stuff. Now that's the new scoring system, but takedowns are still very important for scoring. He had 14 friggin' takedowns against Volkov. 14. So when he says he's a self-proclaimed best wrestler in the division, he might not be lying. You know what I mean? 14 takedowns plus 116 strikes. You're going to catapult yourself to easily, 140 points, something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's crazy with a good win. It's just, if you get a finish in there, which he does sometimes, he hits like a truck still, Matt. He takes people down, and it's not just one of those guys laying prey. He's going to get on top of you and drop heavyweight bombs on you. So it's like, he's an issue. So that's why. I mean, he definitely has the highest scoring potential in slate. If we're talking who has the highest ceiling, it's Blades.
Yeah. Blades. Yeah. This fight's going to make the optimal. It's just that the ownership doesn't make sense on the other side. That's all.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. You ready to bring us all together, Kevin?
100%. 100%. Great fight card, man. This is going to be a freaking blast. So yeah, looking at our core plays, I have Curtis Blades. Will carry a ton of ownership and easily has the highest scoring potential on the slate. Should get it done. GPP plays, a lot of good options here, Matt. I'm going to cut it down to 6 or 7 just because there's so many freaking good ones. It's tough to cut it down, but going to have to. Spivak, big power, good submission ability if it goes to the ground. Alves, glass cannon, but can finish very well because of it. Landwehr and Arosa, both good finishers and should be a high-paced fight. Aspinall hits like a truck, and Arlovsky has been knocked out a ton. The Hawes and Imavov fight. Hawes is only, in fights that end in finishes, and Imavov should make a good dance partner for that. We also just talked about the fact Imavov is carrying way less ownership.
15.8, crazy.
Compared to what, Hawes 37?
37, yep. You have it.
Crazy. Doesn't make sense. So that's something to think about too. Dawkins and Olynyk, another one that's just really way too skewed in ownership. I'm telling you, man, it's making me really want these underdogs or these lesser owned guys like Olynyk and Imavov, because I'm planning on targeting this like 50% each, basically 100% of the fight. And obviously we want the big leverage plays. So big leverage there, but that doesn't mean fade Dawkins too. That'll kill you if you do, or could kill you if you do. Moving on, we got Minner and Rosa for the last one on the list here. Big finish chance, and both should clear their price points and a win. And you said they were carrying pretty low ownership, Matt.
Very low.
Which I like. Very low, which doesn't make much sense on a minus 200 finish chance. Punts here. I told you I had a lot of them. We're going to go Jared first. Vandera off the rip. Great pivot off Spivak, and this fight should end in a finish. You want to target both sides here. Skelly, really good fighter against a fighter who still has a lot to prove. We talked about Skelly being one of my favorite punts in the card. Sabatini, great finisher and wrestler, and fighting a true glass cannon, could absolutely get it done. He's got good finish ability himself. Arlovsky, big power and cheap, real shot to win as well. We saw this 42-year-old stud has won 3 of his last 4, so something to think about. Derek Lewis can knock out a friggin' mule. That dude, I swear to God, bro, I think that dude could knock out an elephant. I'm not kidding. So, like,
That's
I
funny.
think, so that is definitely someone I'm going to be considering too. But that's going to wrap it up, Matt.
All right, that was a 15 fight breakdown. Thank you so much, Kevin, for doing that. And if you guys lasted this long into the video, thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button, notification button, of course, smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your weekend, and let's cash.